Yes, relationships are the most important thing. I mean, what was it in Nazi Germany or in Russia? I can't remember, but taking orphans and like just giving them food and no love, they died. Like that
Mm-hmm.
is a sign that human connection is important to us. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
also a sign because it just feels fucking good when you have a nice
Yeah.
connection with anybody, be
Yeah.
it friend or partner.
Welcome to the ReeThink Podcast. Today is the topic about trauma and the relationship to mental health. And today I have a guest with me. This is Chris, and I know Chris since 2023. He was one of the founding members of the Man Circle. We will talk about that as well. And one of the reasons why I wanted to discuss with him this topic is he's somebody that tried everything when it comes to trauma healing. And so you will have the perspective of somebody that had trauma, that dealt with it. And the most interesting thing, he used everything. So he used gadgets, he used workshops, psychedelics, you name it. So this will be a very interesting conversation today. Welcome, Chris. Introduce yourself so the audience have an idea who you are.
Hey, so yeah, as you mentioned, I'm Chris. I founded the Men's Circle where we all take part and we have exchanges that's been really enlightening for me. I want to tell you now about my credentials for you'll be listening here actively with me. I have a PhD in mechanical engineering, certified hyperbaric technician, neurofeedback trainer, shaman, trained in the Shipobo art, spent a lot of time in Peru. And now that we got that out of the way, I'm looking forward to an honest conversation here with my friend Rudi. I, yeah, I prefer the term maybe adverse childhood events. I feel like it has more baggage, but I've had that in the past, and I'm very happy to share how I've dealt with it because I feel like a lot of people have had similar experiences, and it was really helpful for me to hear from others in their paths. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be here today with you as my friend discussing this.
Thank you. I feel the same about you as well, and that we have this discussion. What strikes me the most right now is, on the one side, when we see your professional side, you have a PhD, and on the other side, you made so many different things which are not really related. So, can you unpack why you did all these different things when it comes to, let's say, trauma healing?
So let's start. Why did I do a mechanical engineering PhD? My father was an engineer and kind of pushed it, and I also thought that it would make him happy
Mm-hmm.
subconsciously and be
Mm-hmm.
more connected. So that is a reason that I did mechanical engineering. I never really thought about it. University seemed fun. All of my friends were going there. I did that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was lucky in my life to have a few good relationships, lovely women. And I remember with my second long-term girlfriend, she would ask me sometimes, like, Chris, how are you? And I'd be like, I'm good. And she'd be like, are you sure? Because, I feel like there's something not telling me that. And what I hadn't realized is that I wasn't really doing well. I wasn't actually connected to myself at all. And I didn't know how to answer it. And after this relationship ended, it was a second long-term relationship with a lovely girl. I was like, maybe the problem's me.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of started the whole path into discovering more about myself, maybe why I wasn't having a relationship the way I wanted, and why I didn't feel comfortable by myself or in a relationship.
Mm-hmm. So this was the first peak that you thought, okay, there's something that you are not aware of that you need to take care of, or what was the trigger from, hey, there's something, and what can I do? Because the way I know you, you're a very like action-driven person.
So this will be the first time I talk about this publicly, but my first girlfriend together, amazing. She was French, had a lot of super loving. First girl I met, fell in love. And then after some years, I don't know, I wanted something else, just more excitement. I didn't feel connected. And I also didn't have the balls to talk about it. So I cheated on her. And we broke up, went basically right after this into another relationship with a Spanish girl. Super fun. After a couple years, I was also like, oh, I don't feel so comfortable in this relationship. And before cheating on her, at least this time, I broke up. And I got to this position and I was like, okay, what is wrong? I need to figure out something on my own. So then for the next years, I explored being single, super fun at the beginning. This, I had a lot of fun dating girls, meeting girls, going out. It was also like a game to me. And after a while, I was like, oh, but why don't I feel this connection? Then I went to different workshops. Turns out one of the things I enjoy is having sex. Went to some sex workshops, and there, very grateful. I went to the new Tantra, and they're like, okay, sex is taboo. This is something we have to handle and get over. So I went there, very fun, and learned a lot. And then after, like, okay, that was the first step. Now we have to deal with more stuff, like finding your purpose, getting connected with you. This was kind of the first level. And I started doing more exploratory work in this, and I realized that I was missing the connection with myself. And looking into it, based on my relationship to my mom and other things that had happened in my past, it was quite obvious that why I wasn't having the relationship I wanted to have.
So to summarize it, you were like all the time looking back, you were suffering. You couldn't name it. You felt it, or let's even more precise, somebody else framed it, noticed it. And then because you were struggling with relationship, that gave you like the first hint that there is something with me that is not really fully connected.
Yes. So I didn't feel it at all. I had some of my first childhood events. We can go into those later, exactly what they were. And then from 18 on, moved by myself, put everything in a box in my mind, never touched it. And I was like, okay, meditation, I can just live in the moment. I'll be fine. And let's go forward and have the relationships and do. And I realized I was kind of having like a weight on me. And so everything was harder. And I didn't even realize that I wasn't connected with myself. Like I said, it was my second girlfriend that was asking this question. And I was like, what a stupid question. I just told you I'm fine. Like, were you not listening?
Yeah.
And looking back, I actually had a really nice conversation with her. And we broke up 2018. And earlier this year, I wrote her. I was like, hey, I learned a lot of stuff. I'd like to talk about our time together. And it was that was also really healing for both of us to be like, oh, this is how it was for you. And you know what? You were right. I was not feeling myself. I wasn't okay.
So then looking back, the mental health aspect was that there is like a sense of not like feeling well, or can you describe it? Was it a form of depression that you experienced but was not like diagnosed, or what is the feeling that it was maybe related to mental health, but later you realize, okay, there's a trauma part that plays into that?
So I would say there are multiple things. With the mental health, I was never diagnosed with anything. It was just like this general discomfort wherever I was. And you know it to some degree, large partly still today, just a little bit better. Wherever I am, I'm like, oh, if I changed something, it would be better. If I were somewhere else, I would feel more comfortable. And then what really pushed me to actually make the changes is there's a huge connection, which I guess listeners of this podcast will know, between the mind and the body. And I
Mm-hmm.
started having many body issues, problems with
Mm-hmm.
sleep, weird
Mm-hmm.
pains, skin problems,
Mm-hmm.
gastro problems. So those were kind of like the extra kick. Okay, now you've tried all the typical medical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What's the explanation behind this? Why don't you feel actually good?
Can you unpack that a bit more, like the connection with the brain and the
Yeah,
body?
yeah.
Because, for instance, like what I learned with the last podcast with Vitalius, he explained it very greatly that on the one hand we have stress and then the release of the stress, and then from my understanding, trauma is something that has built during a period of intense stress, which was never actually released, and then it becomes a part of your subconscious mind, and it's occupying your subconscious mind in a way to manage that. Or maybe you can frame it from your perspective, what you have experienced.
So I would like to say, yeah, there's stress that can teach you something. If I have to, I mean, this is the whole idea of going to the gym, right? You put stress
Hmm.
on your muscles,
Yeah.
and it's a weight that you can handle, and you don't overdo it, and then your muscles are sore, and then a couple days later, I mean, with
Hmm.
time, you get stronger and stronger.
Yes.
And as an adult, we know how to do that. And
Hmm.
I would say it's difficult, especially as a child. We actually learn regulation from our parents.
Hmm.
And I really like Gabor Mate's explanation about this. And he's like, when we are born, we have the need for authenticity, and we
Yeah.
have the need for connection. We
Yes.
need our parents. And so this is going to get back to the stress part, but it's kind of like he explains that trauma in the childhood can be many different things of just kind of losing yourself. So the smallest kind, but if you do this over 18 years of just trying to be someone different to get the love and affection of your parents, because
Yeah.
especially as a small child, actually you can't survive without them. So I would rather lose yourself than
Hmm.
lose the connection to your parents, and this can build
Hmm.
up. And as a human baby, when you're born, you don't know how to regulate your own stress. That's why the connection and touch is so important from the parents, and this is how you learn it. So you can have big stressors, rape, people dying, these kind of things. Gabor Mate talks about it even that you can have like a long time of losing connection with yourself as also like trauma with a small t that can lead to problems.
Hmm. Okay, so there's one aspect is the co-regulation between being a child and the parents that you learn from that. So meaning in that relationship, when there is no aspect of co-regulation for the child, then this is the like the first trauma that can build, which leads then to be not able to regulate yourself. Is that is that the correct like
Yeah,
Anna?
that is one of the ways that trauma can
Mhm.
happen there.
Do you want to touch into the topic while you what you have discovered as your own trauma? Because um, I relate to you very early on because it seems like we have similar kind of
Uh-huh.
traumas, and maybe you want to touch on that, what you have discovered for yourself, and what the like the outcomes were, how you could connect the dots.
Yeah. Um, I can't remember who said it, but like a very good quote was for me kind of okay, you can try to heal yourself, but if you're like got broken in relationships and you're having trouble in relationships, the only way
Hmm.
to fix it is in a relationship to someone. And as a human being, connections are so problematic and so important and difficult. And for me, that's where I finally realized that it's like this is not working out. And I think a typical one is we get our examples from our first intersexual relationship, which for us as men is to our mother,
Hmm.
and for women is to our father. And I had a mother who was very loving and kind of overpowering in the sense
Mm-hmm.
like she kind of poured her whole life into me, which was confusing for
Mm-hmm.
me. And I'm just thinking how much I want to go into detail right now. But for the moment, I'll say my
Mm-hmm.
mother started hating my dad,
Mm-hmm.
and in all ways except for like physically kind of replaced me with my dad from a young age, like 10 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this weird connection with her. And then when I was 18, she died. And those years in between were very difficult and confusing. So,
Mm-hmm. And I remember because we had yesterday a short conversation, and one thing that you explained me is like when you are trained to stuff down all the emotions, it does something with you, and then it becomes depression.
yeah.
So there's a lot of people they are not even aware they have depression because they are highly functional. But maybe can you explain your take on that? Because
So my
I have
take
the
on it, yeah. My take on it's taken from Gabor Maté again, and that I'll just my take on and on me. My mother was sick. She had health issues, and then a tumor in her arm, and it was removed. And she had a lot of pain in the years after that, and she couldn't sleep. Was feeling bad all the time, large amount of pain. Didn't know really how to deal with the world, and I was trying to make it all better for her.
hmm
I had the thought in my head like, man, if I just do everything perfect, she'll
hmm
feel good.
hmm
And I became so in tune with her feelings and what she needed
hmm
that I stopped feeling myself. And it was actually dangerous for me in this thinking to feel myself because of I knew how she would react. I could see it, and it would I would see myself as making her sick. So, for
hmm
example, if I would say I want to see my dad, she would react like, "Are you trying to kill me?
hmm
Do you want me to die?" Yeah, I'm saying. And so then I learned, okay, good. My desires are not good. They're making the situation worse. And so I was never diagnosed with depression. Feel like I have a problem with my connection to my feelings. The idea is then the words actually describes what's happening. I push down all of my feelings, so I depress it. And
hmm
so I can no longer feel the sadness, but also the polarity
hmm
of happiness.
hmm
And you lose connection with your feelings. And that's
hmm
why it's called depression, according to Gabor Mate.
Is that it almost sounds like a survival strategy that is in place for a purpose, because as you said, like the relationship for a child to their parents, yet specifically to their mother, is like vital for survival.
Yeah.
And it's almost like designed in a way that it should happen like that. Nevertheless, why is that the reason that this mechanism that is designed for a specific reason is also the reason that now puts you in a box in certain
hmm
ways?
Mm, I think what is designed is the connection and the bond to a
Mm-hmm.
parent is the most important thing. As a human, it's special in that for the first 18 years, this is crazy. Most animals is like months or days. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a horse comes out, can run away. We're dependent on our parents. So we are
Mm-hmm.
programmed to do whatever it takes to make sure
Mm-hmm.
we get what we need from our parents. And our parents are also then programmed through the genes which are chosen that they should take care of us. So this overrides anything other than that. So that is the feature. And that is the most important thing. So I wouldn't say that this is one way to adapt to it. And there is no really other way. I mean, as a child, you need the love from your parents. And so as you were saying, I think it's like a necessary way to go through it, but it's not being chosen for that reason that okay, this is a way to get it, but just the connection is the most important. How do I get it? like the survival of the fittest, and the
Yeah.
fittest humans are the ones that could make it to 18 and continue after.
Yeah.
So how do we get there?
Okay. Um, do you think that trauma ever really disappears? Maybe from your experience, I mean, at some point you became aware, okay, there's something happened in my childhood that have an impact on me. So what is your experience now dealing with that, using different methods? Does it really disappear? Does it improve? What is your experience?
I think, I mean, these adverse events that happen, they're not going to disappear. You're always going to remember them, and they will affect you. And like most things in life, being aware of it is so much better than not being aware on it. If I have like a nail in my shoe, I mean, if I'm aware of it, first of all, I can take it out, but then it's like, oh, this is why I'm standing funny to one side all the time. And just knowing this is making our actions happen in a certain way is the first step. And then by dealing with it, you can make sure that your reactions are more thought out and less reactions. I didn't even know why I wasn't connected with myself. My ex-girlfriend kind of gave me a chance to connect with her, and I turned it down, and I wasn't ready at all. And now when I feel this, oh, okay, I kind of have to run away or I don't feel safe, I can be like, oh no, I know this feeling. Is there an actual reason that I don't feel safe now? Because I mean, especially in the modern day world, like I am safe, even if I have this anxious feeling.
Yeah.
No tigers, nothing's going to attack me. Or is this an old feeling? And this little pause that it can give you is really helpful.
So from everything that you have done so far, I mean, one thing that I really like about you, for instance, you have this oxygen chamber, and you also use the sleep pod and everything, and as I mentioned in the beginning, you have also done shamanic rituals. So if you rank them, what from your perspective helped you the most and why?
It's really interesting. I'm going to say the thing that really set it off was actually going to these Tantra sex workshops. Funny enough, that is where I realized I am enjoying the sex and chasing women, but it's out of like a need rather than a need to prove myself. I was trying to compensate for something. If it's embarrassing for me to say it now, but this is a true realization. I think subconsciously in my head, I was like, okay, if I sleep with a lot of beautiful women, that makes me a good person somehow, you know, a status. And then realizing it made me go deeper. Before that, I had done many years of talk psychology, like talking about the problem. It's like, oh yeah, maybe you have an issue because of your mother. I'm like, okay, thanks. Yeah. Well, what do I do? So this kind of put me on the path. Then I had something to talk about it. Psychedelics were amazing for the first step to step out of my patterns, see what's going on. Also highly recommended with taking it with my partner to feel connection and love was really nice for me in our relationship. And I feel like it was always, you have these different levers, right? The health of your body and the mind and how you're thinking. And they're very connected because if your mind, if you don't have, I mean, if you have some kind of brain injury, for example, you can't think clearly. And if you're thinking shit all the time, negativity, that has an effect on your body. So if I would feel like I was getting stuck on one side, I would move to the other. And it really is interesting because you can work both levers. If you take like fibromyalgia, which is a disease where people feel a lot of pain, they have found by doing meditations and writing up their traumatic events, they take women, for example. I mean, this actually affects more often women. And dealing with it in this way, they have less pain. And Dr. Afrati, who does a lot of hyperbaric treatment, has found that if you give somebody 40 sessions of hyperbaric treatment, they can also get over this trauma. And he actually has the pictures, the brain imaging to show that through the oxygenation going there, these new parts are being lit up, and it's really an interesting study because you can see both of these can work. And it's kind of a question, I think for most people, it's like, okay, where am I stuck and which one could be more beneficial now? Which one's easier to enact and which one will give me the most benefit?
That's interesting because one thing that I'm currently learning is I'm preparing for another podcast, and it's about learning, like the research of learning, or the science of learning. And one thing that comes up for me in particular is that the more like things you activate in your brain, the better you can retrieve it, or the better you have the chance to rewire certain parts. And for me, one thing that I'm curious about is that's also another thing that I just learned is like everything that we do with our body is also cognitive. Meaning, when you want to rewire something in your brain, change the meaning, or like creating new neural pathways, you can do it also by integrating different modalities, move with the body, like maybe hearing, everything else. And my question that comes here is like, for my personal experience, I find the more I work, also integrate my body into releasing trauma, or let's say working with trauma, the better results I have, because like the old way of therapies is very, let's say, classical cognitive, like reading, reflecting, and thinking through problems. But most of the time, that's my experience, they don't actually change your patterns. Maybe can you go into your experience about that and how you see that?
Sure, I'll go into my experience about it. Like I said before, I started using different modalities in order to overcome my adverse childhood events and feel more present and comfortable, especially with a partner. I had been going to talk therapy for like 5 or 6 years, and I felt like it helped a little bit, but I felt stuck. It was kind of like, okay, yeah, you're having a problem with your relationship because you had this issue with your mom. I'm like, thank you. Like, I'm aware. Great. What do I do? And then go back to the sex workshop, like when you're standing there and it's like, oh, I want her attention and I want this. It's like I'm so much more aware in person how it's happening. And this is the way our brain thinks. And I think it's through relationships that we have to heal. And so, I mean, there's all kinds of different modalities that use the body now in order to heal. Like one of them is, do you know, trauma release exercises? It's kind of like shaking. And the people who are into this, they believe, I mean, they show videos of like a deer getting hunted or antelope. And then after it gets up and it shakes and releases this energy. And I think this makes sense. I mean, even when you look at humans, all the cortisone, everything's released adrenaline when we get stressed or angry. And we should be doing something with this energy. Usually it would have been to run away or fight. And then we sit at our desk. And so all this energy gets stored up. And so I think movement is a really important part to help rewire the brain. And what I think is interesting is there's so many different ways to do it. There's people who do it with the eye movement, this trauma release program. Then there's people who swear by like body work. If you're angry and just go to the gym, also helpful. Ice baths is crazy. Bringing all the different ways you can bring the body into it.
Coming back to TNT, the new Tantra, what is it about Tantra besides of the obviously sexual part that allows you to be more aware of you as a person, your patterns, and potentially your trauma? Can you go into that a bit? Because from what I'm hearing is always like the biggest, let's say, awareness jump came through the sex workshop with TNT, right?
Yeah, it was super interesting. I'll I don't know. I feel like I want to tell you a short version of my sexual history. Okay. I was a virgin until I was 19. Then I met my first girlfriend, French. Was for here a couple years together with her. Then cheated. Then I was with my an ex-girlfriend for some years, and then I was finally single. I'm like, okay, relationships didn't work. You should try to figure it out. And I was just kind
Yeah.
of chasing girls, and then getting to this workshop, you are there, and there's like 20 naked people around. Some of them you're attracted, some of them not. You see how they interact. You think, oh, I would like to do something with this person, and then 1,000 different thoughts come in, like, oh, will she want this? What is this person going to think? Why do I want this? All these relations, all these thoughts are coming in at the same time. It's kind of like putting yourself under a lot of pressure
Yeah.
and seeing how you react in real time, rather than thinking about, okay, this is kind of how my relationships are. So that had a big impact on me. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, it does in a sense, because it sounds like that it's more exposure. I mean, I imagine myself, for instance, like on a couch, and somebody says, or the therapist says, yeah, can you tell me, how do you feel about having somebody you are very attracted and you are naked, and what feelings comes up? And of course you can come up with a story and it might be accurate. However, in that experience, I think so much more is coming, because you are exposed and everything is in real time, but it's still something that you're working with. So I can see the difference in that.
And I want to say more about this because I also want to talk about honesty at some point, because
Yeah.
after that, sometime I came to radical honesty, which has also been really helpful, probably the most helpful thing for my current relationship. But you also, if you have any kind of awareness, you become aware of your patterns. Because I like to define creepy, which is something you will notice like in these workshops, like is doing something with like saying something but doing it different. I'll give an example, right? So if a man comes to beautiful girls like, I want to give you a massage, he's framing it as I'm doing something for you, but actually he just wants to touch the girl. That's very different. And that's what actually feels wrong. And so in this environment, in 1 hour, you can have the chance to have like 100 of these different thoughts, like, oh, I want to give her a massage, but wait, it's for me actually to touch her, or do I want to actually be giving?
Yes.
So being honest with yourself and transmitting it to the world of things. Would say, sorry, the TNT like kind of started me on the path, but radical honesty has really made my life so much easier.
Can you explain a bit for the audience what is radical honesty? How does it work? And can you give also maybe an example, real life example, so I can understand what is the thinking behind that and how it maybe even releases you, makes you free?
Yeah, I would like to say that. So first of all, it makes sense in this society. You don't have to, but there's consequences often if you show what you actually think. And there's so many games being played. And as we talked about already, when you're a child is when you first learn this. Okay, for me, it was if I said I wanted to see my dad and my mom freaks out.
Yeah.
And I see her getting sick. Okay, good. I shouldn't talk about this desire. I bury this desire. And this make me lose connection with my body, and my mind, connection with myself in general. And the idea of radical honesty is basically saying what you think and see and feel directly in that moment in order to let everything go through. So I like to talk about example. If you do something I don't like, right? You come 20 minutes late, right? And then I can be like, oh, it's just Rudi, like, I don't want this to bother me, right? So I'm trying to control my feelings. And there was another great quote, which I heard once, there's a reason it's called feelings and not thinkings, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. You just have to feel them. And then I can just stay like this baseline angry at you. I don't know if you've had this experience of like, you're like, I'm kind of angry at this person, but I'm not talking about it.
Yeah.
And this energy can get stuck for many years, and you don't even remember why you're angry with this person. Whereas if I'm like, hey, Rudi, I'm angry with you because you came 20 minutes late.
Yeah.
And we are very afraid of this in the society because anger is punished, especially if women get angry, funny enough. But so we kind of bury it down. But if I say this out to you, I release this energy. We can talk about it. And it's about being very clear with my own emotions. I'm angry with you because you came late.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, talking about facts. You came 20 minutes late. I'm not saying you're a bad person
Yes.
or you don't care about me. Those are my imaginations if I think them. So this has been a really helpful tool for me and for relationships. And I want to unpack this actually a little more because
Sure.
I also realized that in my old relationships, so in any relationships you are, if you're not showing your true self and you have any kind of, especially if you had any adverse childhood trauma, then what happens is even if somebody does love you, you can't feel it because you're like, oh, you love the image of Chris,
Yes.
the one who says the right things, not the real me.
Yeah.
And in this relationship now, which I'm currently at, where I can say what I think and be who I am and still feel the love, it's like, okay, I'm actually loved. So it's been a great journey.
Can you make like a very specific example? Because in theory, like radical honesty, it sounds very easy to implement. But can you give like a real life example how you are using this? And because I can imagine everybody will understand it immediately, but then applying it, going back to maybe talking with a partner and then feeling, okay, I'm getting angry at you, and then I express it with the awareness that I will not be punished.
Yeah.
And maybe even going one deeper, that in the past that happened all the time. How do you deal with that? And can you give me an example how you can start implementing this more and more, that it gives you results, positive results?
Yeah. So first of all, I'll do a little plug for my coach, Marvin Schultz. Amazing. I went to a weekend workshop with him, and that kind of changed the whole trajectory. I did this right at the beginning of the relationship. And what's cool there is on this workshop on the weekend, we all set the intentions. We all agreed, I want to tell, among other things, I'm here to tell the truth, and I'm here to support everybody in telling the truth, which is very important too. Because you need these positive feedback loops. And there's one story I'm hesitating to tell, but it was the first one that happened to us on this weekend. But whatever, I'll tell it. So it was funny. We were having, on this first workshop there, one of the things that had come up for recently for me, this is embarrassing to say, judging on looks, but I was afraid that at one point my partner would get fat in the future, which was like hard enough for her because she has body images. And for me, it was a super embarrassing thought, like, oh, I'm judging you for your looks, right?
Yes.
And so working through the weekend, finally at one point, I told her this. And the way it was described to me, like the best test is if you should tell someone if it's necessary or not. Because I think what happens is, for example, easy one is you come 20 minutes late, my mind will try to, because it's an uncomfortable conversation in the moment, my mind will be like, don't mention it, it's nothing, you won't talk. But if this thought keeps coming up, then that's a sign that you should talk about it. And what I had realized then when we talked about it, at first it was a big fight, especially because we hadn't been talking about it. And I think in general for women, like body image is hard enough.
Yes.
And this is like a shameful thing to talk about. And I had realized though, like subconsciously, I was trying to control that and talk about more fitness and eating. And short term, fine, like the hour or two. Long term, I was able to release all the subconscious thoughts about this, and it felt so much better and more comfortable. And long term, we were able to build trust, and I realized that we could talk about everything. What I want to say about this, I'm also very lucky. I have a partner who's super open for talking about these things and who's so loving. So I got direct feedback that this is okay. One of the coolest things, though, is being in a workshop with 16 or 20 people who are committed to telling the truth and be whatever it is.
That's amazing. What a story. And thank you for being so vulnerable here for everybody to see in that sense. So to summarize what you just described and also to touch a bit deeper from talking from your trauma and also how it manifests in your life, that really shows like relationship is first of all one of the first things where trauma can happen, and relationships are crucial for maintaining mental health. In particular, would you subscribe to that as well, or how would you summarize it from like taking all the experience that you had so far with your journey?
Yes, relationships are the most important thing. I mean, what was it, in Nazi Germany or in Russia? I can't remember, but taking orphans and like just giving them food and no love, they died. Like that is a sign that human connection is important to us. I think it's also a sign because it just feels fucking good when you have a nice connection with anybody, be it friend or partner. So that is very important. And because we're always looking for this connection, and as we discuss, the most important and the connection that like makes the biggest difference to you is the first ones to your parents, and especially to the opposite sex. So because this connection is so important, it trumps the connection to yourself. So you might lose that. And that makes it very hard to be present and love yourself. So long term, that has to be fixed. And as I was saying before, this kind of got damaged in a connection with somebody else. I also want to be clear, I think all parents, like, they try their best, you know?
Yeah.
It's just they have their own shit going on that happened to them and aren't aware. And so to fix it, you need to learn that you can show your complete self and still be loved and connected for that.
That's a great summary. What I wanted to touch as well is, and we mentioned it at the beginning, we are part of a men's circle, and help me unpack what is the purpose of the men's circle and what you draw from it. I can give you my take, but I want to hear your take. What was the motivation to, first of all, do it? And second of all, what was the biggest takeaways from having this men's circle?
Yeah. So the motivation to do it was, there are multiple motivations. Like-minded people together to discuss real problems. If you watch most men nowadays, oh yeah, how was that football game? Cool, Bitcoin, go buy it. And it's like, when are we going to talk? You know, how often do two guys get together and like, I was sad because of this, or I'm angry. Or if you hear guys at a bar talk about sex, oh, I fucked her and oh, banged that girl or whatever, she dumped him. You know, like we're not actually talking about their feelings. So the idea was to get a group of people who actually wanted to talk about their feelings, specifically also how sex and relationships work and career, and connect more with men, which is also very important on multiple levels. I think one advantage is biologically we're programmed to want to reproduce. And I think then there's something about, if there's the potentially to reproduce, we will act slightly different. So if there's a woman there, I love women, you can have conversation too, but I think men are just slightly different around them. And so it's really nice. And I think it's also important for men to connect with other men, and we lose this. I've read some study, but yeah, there was some study, can't remember the exact numbers, but if you ask a man over 60 who his best friend is, 65% or 70 would say their wife.
Wow.
If you ask a woman over 70 who their best friend is, 30% say their husband.
Ooh.
Exactly. So women still have better connections. And I think by not going deep on subjects that are important to us and having conversations over emotions and just laziness, men lose that. So the idea was to have a place for us where we can connect. And I'm just going to say a bit more. For my partner, it was weird at the beginning. For her, she's like, wait, you're going there for 2 hours and you're telling them all about me and our sex life and everything and the things that annoyed you about me. And I was like, yep, that's basically it. And then she saw the results, the support I get out of it, on the other opinions,
Yeah.
that I feel better after these meetings, and
Yeah.
that she's not my only port of support.
Yeah.
Now she's completely pro.
Interesting. I mean, to add to that, I can give you also my experience. And this was not long ago, maybe 6 months to a year. I met like old friends of mine, so my peers back then. And one thing that was prevalent for me was seeing everybody and that's part of life. Something happened, maybe a parent died or whatever, like a business failed or whatever it is. Everybody will suffer at some point in their life. That's part of life, right? But the thing that struck me the most was that things happened, but then, and these were like, and I, without judging them too much, part of these people were not like, let's say, very aware of certain things, but one thing that came through was like, look, I'm currently suffering, but I have nobody to speak. We have WhatsApp groups where we go online gaming. We talk about online gaming, all this stuff, like talking about sports, whatever, you name it. But when something happens, for instance, a father dies, a mother dies, or whatever, I have nobody to speak to, and I cannot speak to my wife or my girlfriend about it. Maybe because also the fear of judgment or appearing weak, and I have the urge, or I seek like to talk to my friends about it, but we don't have the channel of that. And for me, this was like huge to realize like everybody has a moment where they are crumbling, but the difference is when you have a support system that helps you, in particular, because the stats you just mentioned, like men are more prone to lose social connections rather than women, and that's probably also because our modern lifestyle changed in a way that we don't assemble for tribal wars, we don't assemble for wars, we don't assemble almost nobody assembles anymore. Everybody's on their phone, and also the other thing, men tend to be very goal oriented, so they are maybe busy just working their butts off to support the family or to have the latest car, you name it. And something that is crucial, connection and support, suffers. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is it. One thing you made me think of, like, who do I talk to about this? This is actually Gabor Mate's one of his favorite questions. Like, if you had a problem as a child, who could you talk to it?
Yeah.
And he says, if you had some issue and you could not talk to a responsible adult, that is a form of trauma because you don't know how to deal with these feelings on your own.
Yeah. And I want to touch to also something, and that's making myself also very vulnerable, is that at some point I had a realization that I was very, very sad when I was around the age of 12. And I just realized this because I had a discussion with my son, and he asked me a couple of questions around the situation, and I was like, wait a second, yeah, this was like a very challenging time, and then I shared this within our circle, how sad I was and how I realize now. But the thing is, because nobody was like mirroring my emotions and said like, hey, I notice you are sad, just like you had with your first girlfriend. So I noticed there is something you have now no possibility for yourself to integrate and understand. Hey, I'm sad. That's an emotion of sad. And then you all almost like you internalize it, like sad is a normal feeling, and you have no means to distinguish it. And then when you have it already, it takes also effort to bring it out and somebody else to see it in order to really integrate and understanding. I'm sad. This is the feeling of sadness, and I just thought that's my normal state of being. And I heard it also from somebody who's also, I think, a man psychologist, and he said, like, in order, if you want to, let's say, grieve the absence of your father or grieve whatever happened in your life, you need other men uh, to witness you being sad so you can leave it. And that's what was one of, like, almost a pivotal moment for me. And I felt the difference later when I felt completely different, and I had more ability, just like you mentioned, like the polarity of, like, when you are able to, like, experience sadness, you are far more able also to experience the opposite, like truly happiness or intense love.
Yeah, it's very important that you get recognized for your feelings and that you can only have that, like many things in life, polarity, that it's so
Mm-hmm.
important to have felt sadness in order to feel happiness.
Um, Another question,
Yeah.
looking back, all these modalities you had used, so from high-tech tools to ancient traditions, what do you feel truly moved the needle? And to really summarize it, I mean, TNT clearly was one of the biggest, but how you wrap it together, let's say, in a lifestyle, and say, okay, this much I need gadgets, this much I need, like, the man circle talking
Yeah.
to my fellow men, and these are workshops.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about them separately first, just
Mm-hmm.
to also help myself figure it out. But I would say the most helpful then on the mental level was, yeah, the TNT workshop was kind of like the trigger for me to realize that I have a problem and helped me go deeper. I made the joke about it because I went to one weekend workshop there, and it was 800 euros. And the result of it was, so basically they interviewed all of my friends, all my connection people, filled out a survey, and then they 20 minutes long, the group of people did like a court case against me and told me why I was a bad person, like all the habits that I was doing that were poor. And I made the joke like, oh, I got paid 800 euros to get told what a dick I am for 20 minutes. Like, but it was powerful. Like, it was super powerful to hear this all from, they were all things I knew. Interesting. Oh, you're chasing girls. You have trouble concentrating. You have issues with your mom. But to hear it like that kind of set me off on the path. And the radical honesty has been so freeing for me to be able to talk directly and let emotions move through me. I think those are like the most. I did a lot of meditation before, a lot of talk therapy. For me, that didn't do that much.
Yeah,
Breath work, I enjoy and I actually feel good in the moment,
yeah,
but I feel like it
yeah.
also doesn't help me so long term. I'd say the two mental ones that worked the most for me was kind of putting me in this position and the radical honesty. That was really game changing for me. And then on the high tech side,
Mm-hmm.
I liked neurofeedback because I was like, if I'm gonna do meditation anyway, I would like to know if it's working, which kind of goes against the whole goal of meditation anyway, but that's the way I am.
Mm-hmm.
But the hyperbaric chamber, I like this a lot. Like, I feel it helps heal me inside, and I'm very much into sports, so I kept getting also the benefit from that. And it's crazy. This is one of these tools that help for everything because it's getting
Mm-hmm.
more oxygen to your mitochondria and to blood everywhere in your system. So necessary to heal. And I feel like this helped me heal a lot on that. It's just a shame because it's a huge device or expensive to go use it somewhere. But that has been, I would say, forgot also like on the mental level, but it's taking substances like psychedelics. If you have the chance to do this in the right set and setting, huge game changer. And it's kind of like if you've been walking with blinders on your whole
Yeah,
life, and then suddenly you
yeah.
can look from a top view. Oh, this is
Mm.
how it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For somebody who's listening, who might have the sense, maybe even after this podcast, that they might have unresolved trauma, but they don't know where to start, what would you tell them?
I would tell them get honest with yourself and your friends and start sharing who you are and what your feelings are. Start with the book from Radical Honesty. I really love this, from Brad Planton. Go to the workshop if you can, and then look for feedback also. Like, I'm so thankful for like I said, that cat gave me the kick in the ass. These 20 minutes of you're an asshole because of this, this, and this. I was like, oh man, wow, this is how what people have noticed of me. That kind of put me on the right path. Through that, it's been really game changing for me. My relationships have gotten better. I feel more loved, and I know it's for like who I am, and it takes a lot of the games out of our lives of trying to guess. And this was one of my traumatic things. I had to guess how my mom was doing in order to avoid a reaction. And it's so much more comfortable for someone to be like, even the basic things. We can play games like, oh, it's cold in here. And what I actually want you to do is shut the window for me. But no, I can be direct and I can say, Rudi, would you please shut the window for me? This is my desire. And to connect it. And I understand why we play the games. It's a lot more comfortable because if you don't shut the window, I don't lose anything in the society. Like, I never said I didn't wanted the window shut. So I can like hide behind this fake I didn't want it and not be connected with my feelings. I would say that was huge. And then depending on the countries you are, legality or not, if you can find a legal way to do psychedelic therapy, amazing. Highly recommended. And then try things. Like, we're all wired differently. We all had different adverse childhood events. For me, a lot of it had to do with my connection to my mom. So relationships are super important. And especially relationships to women. So looking back, it makes sense that where am I going to have a lot of small relationships with women? On a sex workshop, you know, like where else is this going to bring out? You know, this is what I'm doing. And then there's so many things where people do get help. And it's kind of like trauma release exercises, breath work, meditation. Try a couple. Some of them take a little longer to see the benefits. It's crazy, you know. You might be one of those people that goes in an ice bath for 2 minutes and you're like, my world has been changed. And then fucking do that every day, you know? Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that we came up with so many of these modalities.
Yeah, that's what I would add is as well is like try out things. I think it starts with awareness. To create this awareness is really hard, but because you start from a point of things that you don't know. It's like it's a totally blind spot. So you almost need either a painful incident that made you reflect and understand there is a different perspective than yours, or somebody that gives you feedback in a way and you are trusting that person, that you are able to understand, okay, now it's a part of me, or there's a part that I don't know. But now you know that's the part that you don't know. But when it's totally your blind spot, you have no chance. And for instance, what works for me very great is I started with meditation, but now like my go-to modality to regulate my nervous system is breath work, and it's different for you. So I think also trying out things, that's the key.
Trying out things and then also living. Sometimes I feel like I almost forgot to live at the same time, you know, like, oh, I want to make this better and this better for the future. Living life is so important. And what you said, I was actually lucky that my relationships were getting fucked up. Imagine like I somehow had semi-healthy relationships and had kids and everything, and then had a midlife crisis with 50 and I couldn't figure out what was going on with me. Like, luckily my relations were bad enough that I was like, oh, something's going on here. And then I was also lucky enough to have friends who were honest and like, you know, you spending like a huge amount of time chasing women. Like, maybe you have some kind of issue.
That's a really great take. So I have one more question for you, or is more a take. Do you think we are entering an era where technology, neuroscience, and spirituality will merge to make more healing and mental health more accessible?
That's a really good question. Used the right way, yes. I mean, the problem is it's just getting pushed financially. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot more money to be made stealing our attention and making
Mm-hmm.
us feel like shit for we buy their products
Mm-hmm.
to make us more beautiful or have friends or whatever this fuck they're selling our attention to, than to help us figure out, you know what? We're pretty good people. And what's going to make us feel good? Human connection. Where are you going to make
Mm-hmm.
money on that?
Yeah.
And that's the danger. It's kind of like, a knife can be used to make cook, or it can be used to stab someone. The
Yeah.
good thing is usually
Yeah.
there's more incentive to be used to cook.
Yeah.
But I feel like technology, the way it's pushed by the money, there's way more incentive to sell us shit we don't need than to make us feel better and realize we don't need to buy stuff. That'd be horrible for our GDP.
Indeed. However, there's a quote that just came up because you know the billionaire Ray Dalio.
Yeah.
And he said like the best things in life are for free. And he said like in particular he mentioned sex, having great relationships, and walking outside in the forest. And for him that's the biggest things. And I think he even mentioned children as well. That's interesting perspective to hear from a billionaire, somebody that
Yeah.
has abundance when it comes to money, still like putting everything that costs nothing above every like material experience, which is
I,
interesting. And
it is interesting. And I think this is an interesting topic. I've heard discussions of like, I think we've also had discussion like, are there some things that we just have to learn ourselves?
yeah,
Like everybody can tell you money's not going to make you happy. But I think
yeah,
the people who don't have $1 billion are like, yeah, it's easy to say once you have $1 billion because you can fix every other problem. You can fly a helicopter to your forest
mm-hmm,
and pay for whatever healthcare you need. Sure, then that's the nicest thing.
yeah,
I think that's also an interesting question. I mean, I agree. I'd
mm-hmm,
love sex and a good partner and a walk in the woods. If you
yeah,
can do all at the same time, even better.
yeah. That's a really interesting take. And I was also talking from experience. At some point, I met a billionaire, and he was already a billionaire, and he just shared like a brief moment of his relationship with women. And the crazy thing for him at this point of his life, he was not able to understand whether somebody is attracted to him because he's a billionaire, and he has like an attractive he has charisma, attractive skill set and stuff like that, or women are attracted just because of his money. So it's really hard, and if you take it from there, it's like everybody's suffering just from different perspectives.
Everyone's suffering from this. And like the lessons you have to learn, like, of course, it's obvious chasing women and having sex with a lot of beautiful girls, like, won't make me long term happy.
Yeah,
But I kind of feel like I had to experience it. And I was like,
yeah,
oh, yeah, you know what? It didn't make me happy. I am so much happier now with the one beautiful
yeah,
partner I love so much. Uh, but especially when I was in my first relationships and not feeling myself,
yeah.
I'm like, oh, it could be fun to, see what's out there.
Have you heard about the concept of Kwaila?
No.
Kwaila is the experiencing. Like I give you an example. If you read a book about driving a Ferrari and actually driving a Ferrari, there's a difference, and the difference is Kwaila. One thing is experiencing something, and then the other thing is just like cognitive understanding something. And I feel like that's part of human condition, that there are certain truths that everybody knows, but you still have to experience it in Kwaila in order to really say, okay, yeah, I have done that, and it's not worth it, but I had to go through the experience.
I can understand. We've talked about it. So I feel like the woman one check. So now it's like, oh, I would really like to get super rich just to see like, like people, I'm like, in theory, yes, I know it's not going to make me happy, but I mean, especially if I can do a good thing for the world at the same time, could be fun.
Chris, it was so much fun talking to
Thank
you.
you.
I think we have to probably do it another time as well, because it was such a fun conversation and we touched a lot of topics. Is there something you want to add as a closing closing question or closing remark from your part?
Multiple things. First of all, I said that I was afraid of my girlfriend getting fat. And I want to be clear, she's super sexy, looks amazing, everything, because I didn't say that at the time. This was one of my fears based on something. And so this I wanted to say. Two, I really appreciate our friendships. It's cool. And our men's group. And like, if you have the chance to connect with other men who are going to push you, who are going to tell you the truth and help, it's just going to make your life better on so many levels. It'll make you a better person. You can also enjoy the moment. And I really appreciate our men's group.
Thank you. I really like to take that back and tell you as well, I really appreciate our friendship as well. And it was amazing talking to you.
Thank you. Let's do it another time.
See you.
See you.